Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about the bladder and kidneys. Okay, so this information is already in my book and it's in my course, so you can go ahead and get that. Today we're going to help people be aware of the bladder and kidney issues on the different levels and help them resolve them. Okay. So before we get right into everything, I just want to remind people that healing is a natural result of wholeness. Okay, so we're here to not just symptom manage and pain manage. We want to go beyond that and learn the clues that our body's telling us so that we learn the divine lessons of love and then heal ourselves completely and become more whole. This is what we mean by total alignment to God with our mind, body, and spirit. Okay, so we want to be aligned to our divine source and our divine path. Like our body knows, where to go. It'll just nudge us to balance and stay on the right path. So I invite you all to learn how to trust your body and be aware of your heart compass and let that guide you. A lot of times we override our heart's inspirations with our head and we overthink. And what I tell people is we try to go through the files in our heads. We'll go round and round and round in circles trying to find solutions to this current situation. What we really need to do is to go to God to get new information for this new situation. Okay, so trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto thine own understanding. All right, and there's scriptures in the Bible telling us that, thy faith has made thee whole. All right, so I invite you to try this out and see how well it works for you. Okay, so it'll be according to your faith. All right, so what we're doing here is learning to read the literal language of the body. So, every week or every few weeks, we, find a body part to focus on. Just to help people really learn how to read it. And from there on out, you've got a skill. The other day I was talking to a friend and she said, I feel, like I take this skill for granted. She says, like, she woke up and her heart started hurting. And she says, instead of panicking, thinking she's going to have a heart attack or whatever, she's like, okay, working it out. This is their emotions and this is their emotion. And then she resolved it and that pain went away. And she said, in the past, she would have panicked. She would have called her husband, she would have done things differently. But she's like, I just had this skill down and I just felt confident and I resolved it. So anyways, I hope that will be the case for everybody that attend these calls and just learn and just read their body. Their body's trying to help them repent or change, and once we learn it, you will not forget, okay? Any questions, any comments? Alrighty. So having said that, we still need to manage our symptoms. So why don't we go there first? So I'm going to introduce you to the oils that help with the bladder and the kidneys. Okay, the very first oil is geranium. Okay, geranium is about love and trust yourself, love and trust others. Okay, so you can drink this. It's not tasty, so it's a capsule. You can rub it over your kidneys and bladder. Okay, yeah, so geranium is really powerful. Okay, ylang ylang, you want to apply it over your heart and you want to smell it too, but it just over the heart to calm the heart down, because sometimes we're stressed or we're angry or just irritated, and it affects the other organs. Okay. We have cypress here. Cypress, you apply it topically, apply it over your bladder. It helps extend your bladder. So if you want to go on long car rides, it extends it. So it just kind of helps with that inflammation, okay? Zendocrine, it's a blend. And this is a wonderful oil to take internally, and you can apply it on the bottom of the feet as well. Okay, so it cleanses your kidneys, your liver, your colon, your lungs, okay? And lemongrass is another oil that's really powerful. It's a hot oil, so when you apply it on topically, make sure you use fractionated coconut oil. Okay, so you can apply it on the bottom of the feet and over the kidney area as you like. Okay, over the bladder area. So if you have issues there, right, and you can take it internally. I would take it in a capsule because it can be hot. Okay. Thyme. Okay, it's another oil, and you definitely need to take this in a capsule because it's a very hot oil. But you can apply it on the bottom of your feet. Sometimes people don't like drinking it, take it internally. So another alternative is just to apply it on the bottom of the feet. Okay. We have bergamot. Bergamot is like antispasmodic, right? It's just really calming. So you can take this internally and have a bergamot tea. You can apply it topically and inhale it. A lot of our kidney problems, is just this fear, this underlying fear of us not being able to do things or other people not being able to do things. And bergamot is I can do oil. Okay. So it's a wonderful oil to calm ourselves and give us a little bit more confidence. Okay, juniper berry, this little guy, don't underestimate the power. Just a little bit of juniper berry under your tongue at nighttime. If you drink it with water, you can help put your organs to sleep. As in not let it wake you at nighttime. So people might say, oh, I go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times a night. Well, if we take juniper berry, it kind of helps reduce that. Juniper berry is also in Zendocrine, but taking it alone will just add to it and help out some more. Okay, it's the oil of the night, the oil of the unknown. So it helps us stay asleep. So rosemary, this rosemary smells like eucalyptus. Okay, so inhale it. It helps open airways. It helps you have more oxygen intake. Apply it topically, and then you can take it internally if you like as well. Okay. Grapefruit, it's another oil that you can apply topically, but I like to take this oil internally. Any citrus oils help break down the fat, okay, and it helps your body digest things better. Sometimes our body needs a little extra help to break down things, okay? And grapefruit helps you honor your body, helps you feel your body and recognize the feelings. So we have On Guard. So say that we have an infection. If you have a UTI, for example, you want to take it On Guard internally. You can rub it on the bottom of your feet, but I think it's or on your lower abs where your bladder is. But I think it's really effective if you drink it. Okay. And then we have lemon oil. And lemon is very cleansing. It helps break down the uric acid. Okay, especially when it causes gout and things. Okay, so we want to make sure things are clean or the crystals are broken down so that we can pass all those without it creating stone. So, any questions, guys? Comments? Go ahead, Sierra.
I was just going to make a comment. I recently, if you're in tune to your body and you can listen to your body and feel things coming or whatever, I recently thought for sure I was getting a UTI. And I didn't have any pain like in my bladder area or anything like that, but I just had some discomfort. And the frequency of just urinating was coming a lot faster. So I kind of knew what it was. So I'm like, I'm not going to the doctor for this. And I chose, there was probably about 7 of these oils that you have listed. I looked them up in the book and I chose out 7 of those oils and I made a little shot glass of my oils and I did it twice a day. And in that first day, I had no more discomfort, but I did it again the second day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, I think I'm okay. And if I felt something come back, I would just start it again because I probably, you probably could take it, for a week. And if it was more serious, but I caught it so early because I was listening to my body, that the 2 days of me doing it just twice a day was enough. and it completely went away. I had no pain. It was kind of amazing actually, because when I remember when we first got married, UTIs were very common for me.
Mhm,
And they can be extraordinarily painful.
mhm,
I hardly ever have anything like that happen to me now, but for whatever reason, it just recently did, and it was gone in 2 days.
mhm. Yeah. So you know how it was without oils, and now you know how to resolve it with oils, and it's like day and night different. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that reminds me of my dad when he had that bad kidney stones, a 10 millimeter stone, and he was sitting right there where he was, where the bladder is, so he couldn't urinate, and actually he was bleeding, and I told him he had to go to the hospital, and he was very stubborn, and he said, "No, you help me, you fix me." And I'm like, "I'm not a doctor. I know how to take care of people when they're healthy." Anyways, his siblings came over and begged him to go. He was so pale and clammy, and then I decided, look, I'm going to make you a concoction. So I made him a little shot glass, a little bit of olive oil, rosemary, geranium, juniper berry, lemon, and I had him take that. And he drank that maybe 4 or 5 times that day. And then I gave him an aroma touch, and we talked about the emotions behind it, because he wasn't going anywhere. So might as well sit there and talk to him about healing. And then the next day, he that night he didn't have good sleep. And the next day we did the same routine, another aroma touch, and the oils every 3 hours or so. And then we passed a stone, and that was like 2 days. And I was kind of shocked, and I was like, I didn't know that could happen. So anyways, that whole week we kept going, because we do with antibiotics, you need to take things for about 10 days. So I thought, let's do it and get it out completely. So by the end of the week he went and he got another ultrasound, and the 10 millimeter kidney stone, it had only a few little small 1 millimeter stones left in there. So he had broken it up on his own. So anyways, from that point onwards, I really had a testimony that, doing the healing and doing the oils, it goes hand in hand, and it makes a huge difference for people. Yeah. But anyways, I'm not telling people stay home if you have that situation, but he was really stubborn and he put me on this. So yeah, go to the hospital if you need to, guys. Yeah. Anyways, so let's talk about the emotional and spiritual side of things. Okay, so if you are experiencing bladder or kidney issues, or you've got friends or family members that have it, maybe just have a discussion about this. Okay. So kidney issues relate to criticism, disappointment, failure, and resentment. Are you filtering life in a fearful or critical way? Do you still feel immature? Are you feeling exhausted and stuck? Do you feel like you lack wisdom? So all of this comes from just false beliefs, all right? So we might have a false belief that the world is hostile and not friendly, that you're looking for what's wrong in people and in yourself. We fear failure and we look for failure, for example. So our physical body is giving us clues. Yeah, and sometimes you're like, no, I'm not like that. But our physical body says, yeah, you are, let's balance up. So it kind of gives us like this truth, right? And so that was my dad. I was just sat him down and said, Daddy, you've been critical about someone, something, or been critical about you or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm like, okay. And then he sat there for a while and he's like, well, I've been really upset with your brother. And I'm like, yes. And then he started sharing that he was disappointed. And then I said, well, what I know from him is that you're very critical. And he's like, I guess so. And I said, Dad, you told me when you were younger, your dad did the same. He's like, oh, yeah. And then it was just a moment of truth for him. And he just sat in that place. And And then we talked and talked. And then, I said, Dad, you just, love on your son, even if he messes up. And, he just kind of repented right there. So right after that, when he got better, and ever since then, he and my brother have been so close, so close. And he just really learned his lesson. Yeah. So kidney works to maintain overall fluid balance, regulate and filter water soluble minerals from the blood, filter waste materials from the food or medications and toxic substances. It creates hormones that produce red blood cells, promotes bone health, and regulates blood pressure. So, sometimes when we have a blood pressure issue over here or bone issue over there, maybe it stems from this. So everything is connected, right? Okay. According to Chinese traditional medicine, the kidney and bladder are associated with the water element. Water element is symbolic of wisdom, intuition, insight, relationships, awareness, softness, and harmony. So if you go back to the top, you can see that, when you have criticism and resentfulness, that's not harmony, and maybe you're seeing the world through dark lenses. Well, maybe that's not wisdom. Okay. So it just gives us an opportunity to change, right? So that we're not, just, I guess, fooling ourselves. If you need support, if you need to support the kidneys, the bladder with herbs or essential oils, the best time to do it is between 5 to 7. Okay. And also between 5 to 7, if you're, tired and, you're not thinking straight and you just feel uncomfortable, maybe that's the bladder and kidney issues that are giving you clues that it's not functioning optimally. Usually I have a lot of energy from 3 to 7. So, but I know from family history that this is an issue. So I make sure that I keep those organs clean. So I just wanted to show you something fun here. Like the water element, like we are made of atoms, and the atoms are just from elements, right? So water extinguishes fire. Okay, when we have too much fire inside of us, water can extinguish it, and then earth absorbs water, so it kind of helps keep that balance. So over here, the balance energy is wisdom, intuition, insight, harmony in relationships, self-awareness, emotionally aware, softness, tenderness, balanced, loyal, in control, confident, and encouraging, and inner strength. And the unbalanced is fear, criticism, disappointment, failure, resentment, blaming, stuck, low self-esteem, negative, inferior. But this is our thinking, and it creates these feelings, okay? Living in the past, condemning, dreading, fear, I did put fear twice, conflicted, unsupported, confusion, controlling, judgment, disdain, and exhaustion. Okay. And winter time is like the energy for the water. It's time to recover. So if your kidneys have issues and bladder have issues, it's asking, the body's asking you to just pause and recover. Treat it like a winter time of refinement and deep thinking, dream, meditate, and have introspection, and then do Tai Chi, yoga, drink lots of water, warm drinks, okay, Pilates. So eat ginger, cinnamon, seaweed, steamed green seafood, cooked eggplants, mulberries, blackberries, dark whole grains like millet, legumes, and black beans. So, mulberries, blackberries, and, juniper berry. Yeah, so quite interesting there. I don't know too much about it, but it feels like it's, looks like it's very interesting, and just thinking about the different elements helps me feel like, I understand the emotions and how things work a little bit better. All right, so let's continue here. On the emotional and spiritual level, be aware of how you filter life, because the kidney is a filter, right? If you think and believe you are unempowered, unloved, or unimportant, you will filter the world through those lenses of inferiority, These inferior lenses make it easy for you to interpret your situation in a way that causes you to feel resentful, disappointed, critical, and a failure. Blaming and controlling are the hallmark behaviors of unempowered people. These emotions reflect fearful beliefs and thoughts. Fear causes us to want to hide and seek to escape situations instead of facing them with faith. Combat fear with faith in your Heavenly Father. Sometimes we feel like, that excuse and that reason is very, very valid, and it makes sense. But what if we can change that and see that as an empowered situation? To strengthen your relationship with your Heavenly Father, allow God to tell you who you really are and how important you are to Him. Open up your heart, receive and feel the divine unconditional love from an intelligent, caring, divine parents. It is time to take back your power to choose and to create your happiness. Anchor yourself in God's unconditional love and you'll find stability in life. And, on Friday, we're talking about the depth of lesson. So sometimes we pray to be relieved, but sometimes God needs us to be in that space for a little bit longer to understand the depth of the lesson. And so, we just need to surrender and allow the process to unfold. Okay. Anyone want to comment? You are powerful with infinite divine potential. Stay close to the divine power source and filter the world through divine wisdom. In that way, we can achieve balance, inner strength, and confidence. Like water, allow the divine light of understanding to flow through you. Allow the divine light to purify and change you at the core levels. See more successes in situations. Even if it's a difficult situation, there's got to be a divine lesson in there for you, right? Recognize pure good intentions in people. Make it safe for you and others to be human and make mistakes. So I tell people, make peace with your humanity. Trust the divine process as it unfolds. Let go of old painful memories. Filter out the negative interpretations and keep only the good lessons and memories. Judge righteously and kindly. Be gentle, soft, and tender with yourself and others. Sometimes people's filtering organs, it doesn't filter properly. It doesn't keep the good, right? It kind of filters the opposite way. Okay, so we need to try to intentionally command the elements to do the opposite. Okay, so when you have mastered the energy of water element inside of you, you will experience more fluidity in your life. You'll find that you have become more articulate, intelligent, knowledgeable, stable, introspective, self-contained, devoted, and self-sufficient. Anybody want to comment?
I do actually.
Yeah.
The whole thing about this being us mastering the energy of the water element and what you just said about filtering out the bad and whatnot. I saw a video recently of someone, and it was such a perfect description. She had a glass of water, just a plain glass of water, and she put like 3 scoops of dirt in it. And she's like, this, as she was doing that, she's describing what it is around us, the toxins, the environment, the hate, the disgust, the, jealousy, work stress, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's everything that we live with. And she stirs it up with a spoon. And she's like, now I can sit here and I can constantly like take a spoonful at a time and try to scoop out the bad, all the gunk that was put into the water. And she said, but every time she's scooping out some of the bad, some of the good comes with it as well. And she said, however, this will help you heal in no way that you've ever thought of before. And of course, we've thought of it, we've talked about it so many times. But she took a picture of clear, clean water, and she's like, this is goodness. This is clear, pure goodness in your life. And if you just take your cup and you fill it full of goodness, and as she did this, the water runneth over, and it brought all the filth and filtered out all that water, all the gunk came out of the glass, and she was left with this beautiful, clear, cup of water. And I was like, we just need to really, and it reminded me of that time when Ashlyn was doing energy balancing, and instead of focusing on whoever she was doing it with, focusing on the fear-based element that she had, she focused on the faith-based. And she's like, I just feel like you really, really need to focus right now on this faith-based emotion, and you need to feel that goodness, within you. So that's what I've been trying to do lately, is just concentrate more and more and more on the positive and
Mhm.
faith-based emotions. And I'll look at whatever I'm feeling and look at the opposite emotion for that feeling or emotion that I'm having, and that's what I'll concentrate on. So
Yeah,
it's working, it's helping. And
it's awesome. And then like, hey, no more UTIs, and your body's saying, good job, you. Yeah, thank you so much. That's a beautiful analogy. You and I all know that we have some people that whenever we talk to them, they have a big long list of all that's happening and all the reasons why they should be stressed right now. So if you're in that habit of doing so, um, stop, right? And just list out what's good. I have a friend that she had lunch with me, and she's just so happy. And she's a producer. Her husband and her make these movies. And she says, I feel like I have a great life. And we have our challenges, but I focus on it. And so I don't have much to share about it. And I said, that's so good. That's so good. Because instead of like listing it out and then everybody you meet, you're listing it out. And this is why I'm so stressed. It's like as if being stressed and busy is a badge of honor. We can just say life is actually great, and I've got some lessons and the obstacles that I see as opportunities. And yeah, so I love that this guy, his name is Dieter F. Uchtdorf, and he says, don't burden the world with your negativity. So I'm like, brilliant. Debbie?
Yeah, I heard a quote today. I was listening to a book, and the author was quoting Gordon B. Hinckley, one of our former church leaders, and his quote says, "It isn't as bad as you think it is. It all works out. Don't worry." I say that to myself every morning. It will all work out. If you do your best, it will all work out. Put your trust in God and move forward with faith and confidence in the future. So that really, even though we know, like, the people on this call have studied this and we know these things intellectually, we get to have repeat reminders of how we can focus on the good and the positive and truly, truly rise above the mire and live above the mire. And I just really appreciated that, like, if you're doing your best, like, just keep putting your foot forward and trust that things are going to work out. So
Yeah, I love it. Like instead of like pointing out all the things that's going wrong and then letting everyone know, like, and you're thinking you're giving good feedback, just focus on the good stuff and praise people. And I visualize it as the light that's outshining the darkness. I have a friend, and her husband's like, a leader over many units of our church organizations. And, he gave a wonderful talk. And then one lady emailed him and said, oh, here's how you do it better. And here's what you said wrong, And I'm like, oh, no, was that necessary? The poor guy was probably already nervous speaking in front of a large audience. And we just praise him. So, that's just, I feel like it's not necessary. I'm sure God will correct him if he needs to say something better, right? So, you know, there's also other people that are like, oh, there's something wrong with me all the time. I have to clear. I have to, like, you know, Reiki. I have to straighten out these auras and the chakras and all of these things. And they just keep focusing on themselves and clear. And it almost gets to a point where it's distracting, where they're just focusing on themselves. So whether you're focusing on how elevated you are, or how you know, sick you are, or how less than you are, whatever, it's still focused on you. We need to get to a point where we're focusing on being creative in creating a community, in creating unity, you know, instead of staying stuck here. Okay, so this here, our physical body will tell us. So these are the emotions that you can test and resolve. And some of these emotions can be inherited from generations. Okay, so fear, criticism, disappointment. I'm not saying don't feel these. I think it's important to feel them, but resolve them. Because if you feel them, then you will be instructed and learn the lessons that you need to learn. So when we make a mistake and we have these emotions, then we go, oh, note to self, don't do that again. We kind of, you know that that's not a good behavior because it creates these negative emotions. So do feel them, but then recognize what it is and then resolve them, okay? Failure, resentment, blaming, stuck, low self-worth, negativity, inferior, living in the past, condemning, dread, fear, I said it again, okay, conflicted, unsupported, confusion, controlling, judgmental, disdain, and exhaustion. Should I get rid of that? Yeah, okay. So anyone want to comment there? Okay. So I want to highlight judgmental. When people are so afraid of being judgmental, or being, you know, labeled as that, they don't even use their intelligence to judge wisely. Being judgmental simply means like condemning and, you know, labeling people, concluding that they're no good, like saying who they are instead of what they're doing. So if we just have love and we have understanding that people grow and change, we can actually judge situations, we can actually judge ideas, right? We can judge a lot of things because we need to know that, oh, this action leads to this result, and that's kind of bad, you know, or this here, it leads to this result. Oh, that's good, right? So we need to kind of use our God-given intelligence for that. But it's not about the person, because they make a mistake doesn't mean they're bad people. So there's that difference there. That's all, okay? So do use your God-given intelligence to discern right and wrong. Okay, so negative thoughts and beliefs that lead to these feelings. I harshly judge myself and others. People should know better. Because sometimes they don't know better. Oh, yeah, I like that, Karen. Stagnancy, I'll write that down. Yeah, feeling stuck, right? And that's why we have, you know, the kidney stones and stuff, because it's just hardened and stuck there. The world is hostile and harsh. Yeah. So I know a lot of people go, oh, I don't go on social media, whatever, you know, scary people mean and stuff. Like there's plenty of good people out there. Shine your light and outshine the darkness. Yeah. I easily get disappointed in people. You know, that's your stuff. If you feel the feels, then you resolve it. Okay. People are so judgmental and unfriendly. Again, if you think that, you know, that's your stuff. Okay. I hold on to old hurts, so I won't hurt anymore. Okay. I am fearful about life in general. I want to control the situation, but I know I can't. I don't feel safe to fail and make mistakes. I fear the unknown future. I can't let go of negative memories of the past. Oops. Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. Any questions or comments there? So if we're thinking these thoughts, we're creating those negative emotions, and we're filtering through these filters. Okay. If we're looking through a filter that the world is hostile, we'll find it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to replace it with a positive emotion. So if you believe that you can have wisdom, right, or intuition, insight, harmony. Go back to intuition. I say to parents that their young children are very intuitive. Try it out, right? So one of my friends, she has a 2-year-old, and she said she had a box of oils, and she said, you know, to her daughter, which oil for daddy? And then she picked it, and he opened the book, and he looked at the emotion. He's like, you know, that is exactly me. And they're like, let's do it again. And she did it again. This is a 2-year-old, right? And they did it 8 times. And every time they found the oil in the book, and they found the emotion, and the dad's like, what? That is me. You know, the children can be very intuitive and insightful, and you can be that, continually be that too, because once upon a time you were like that, right? And you know, when we say to ourselves, oh, I don't know stuff, and you know, then we lose it a little bit. Harmony in relationships. My husband and I were just talking about this. You know, we read a book by Gay Hendrickson, and he says you don't really have to fight. And I've had people, you know, some people ask me, you know, what do you do when you fight and stuff? And I'm like, I really don't. If we have a disagreement, we sit down, we just discuss it, you know. And it's like, surely you have this. And I'm like, why should we? And Gay Hendrickson says sometimes when people believe that relationships are filled with drama and, you know, anger and all that, whenever there's peace, their subconscious creates a fight, right? And it's not necessary. So here's self-awareness, emotionally aware, softness, tenderness, balanced, loyal, in control, confident, encouraging, and inner strength. Having that inner strength. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of affirmations today for this. I am powerful with infinite divine potential. Right? Because a lot of the issues, the core fear, the core emotion is fear. Okay. I love and accept people for who they are. I love and accept myself regardless of where I am in life. You know, instead of criticizing yourself, right? So I have power and control over my choices and reactions. Sometimes people don't feel powerful, right? And I allow myself and others the freedom to make mistakes and learn. I allow myself to fail as part of the journey of success and progression. I trust that I will all figure things out with God's help. I choose happiness and hope in all situations and things. It's safe to grow up because I am growing in wisdom. Sometimes we haven't chosen to grow up. Yeah, believe it or not. And, you know, we still feel like we lack something, and it's just an intention, right? So clarify that. I trust the divine process. I trust my God-given intuition and divine strength. And I choose to remember the good times. What do you guys think? Is there an affirmation there that you like?
I think one of the most important ones for me to learn was just allowing myself to make mistakes, and knowing that it was okay.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. So I wasn't allowed to make mistakes at all. Mm-hmm. So that was the biggest one for me to allow myself. Mm-hmm. And also, I just wish I had learned that when my kids were still younger, so I would have allowed them to make mistakes, because mm-hmm. I would step in so there wouldn't be a mistake, mm-hmm. you know, and fix things for them before they were either mm-hmm. allowed to fix it themselves, or before they were allowed to learn the lesson that they needed to learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the depth of lesson. Yeah. Oh, good. And the false belief behind not letting ourselves make mistakes is, if I make a mistake, I am a bad person, or I'm not good enough. And then, there's this punishment attached to mistakes. So we're really not afraid of mistakes. We're just afraid of the punishment for what the mistake means. It means I'm not smart enough, or I'm not enough, I'm whatever. So when we eliminate all of those extra things, mistake is a mistake, and we just learn from it, and that's it, So I like that Sierra mentioned, like, learn the natural consequence, learn the result, because when you grow up, then you make wiser decisions. Yeah. I had a chat with my daughter on Monday, and I said to her, oh, on Friday I mentioned you, and I said, look, you had a headache and then you chose to go to school anyways, so the thinking process, was it like this? And I asked her, and she said yes. I said, you're thinking, I remember back when I skipped a few days of school because I was not well or whatever, and I was behind and I had to catch up, and that pain and that discomfort and whatever was a lot, outweighs the discomfort of the headache, the current headache right now. And so you decided to push through anyways, and you prayed through the day, and then God was with you and helped you resolve it. But you experienced the natural consequence in the past, and now you know that, note to self, that wasn't good, right? And she's like, exactly, that's how I was thinking, and yes, yeah.
You did. Sorry. Also, if you grew up in a situation where you were used to being punished for mistakes, be careful that you're not continuing that same punishment to yourself. That you're not, because I know I have punished myself for things. So you just need to make sure that you are as loving and forgiving to yourself as you would want to be to others.
Yeah.
Give yourself that agency to make choices, even if it might be a mistake, and then to learn from it.
Yeah. So that's like living in the past, right? And your subconscious says, oh, remember when, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then let's continue to punish yourself, feel guilty and feel bad, and not letting the past be in the past. Yeah. So guys, all this is part of the Energy Balancing with Faith course. If you like to take it, you'll be able to, gain some of these skills, and be part of this community where we continue to support each other and, help each other through our different seasons of life as well. Okay. So here's the link if you want to participate and join that. It's a 7-week course. You can take it in 10 weeks. It's online. There's just videos and quizzes. And the best part is just to be part of this community. And so if you go there, there's a special price for you. Okay. All right. So let's have a discussion. How do you filter life through a different lens? Okay. So if you filter, I should say, a more positive lens. I'll start. Sometimes when we have this perfectionism, right? We're very critical of ourselves. Oh, look what I did wrong. I should do this better. And, instead of like, oh, this is a mistake, I'll fix that. Instead sometimes in the past, we may just beat ourselves up and feel embarrassed, and sometimes hold ourselves back. We like feel stuck because we're like, I'm not, going to do more because I'm not perfect there. I had to learn this lesson when I make my books and my courses. I'm like, I'm just human, and I think I did my best. I know there's lots of mistakes, but I'm just going to keep moving. And as I go, I'll find those areas and I'll correct it, and I'll keep moving and evolving, and just go out there and do stuff to serve humanity instead of waiting until you're perfect so that people are good enough, or the mistakes you're worried that people might talk, like, who cares? Let's do it, right? Because I assume that the humans are kind and understanding, because I want to be kind and understanding to people. And so I'm not afraid of people condemning or anything. And the other thing too is I choose to answer only to God. If God says go, do, I'm like, okay, I'll do my best. I'm not going to be too great, but or maybe it will be great, but I'll just do whatever I could because I answer only to God. So that's how I try to filter things through, and I sit down and I think if someone says something and I'm like, surely she meant this, so that I don't try to take offense where there is no offense to be had. Right. So I'm like, that's a choice. Anybody else want to share?
I think for me, I agree with everything you just said, but the thought came to me is like, am I willing to be wrong? Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when I am in relations with other people, it's like I feel like I'm very forgiving of other people a lot of times when they do things wrong. And and I think I need to be that for myself, like be willing to be wrong and be able to and just know that it's okay and that I can fix that. I can work on it and get better.
It's kind of like holding yourself up to an unrealistic expectation, right? And babying other people and saying, oh, they don't know, and that's okay for them. But for me, it's like, man, I should know better.
Right. Yeah. Thinking like that I need to be right or do things right all the time. So.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. Anybody else? How would you like to filter the world differently?
Personally, just it's interesting. My friend that lives in Honolulu, we were talking today about being specific about what we ask God for and careful when we're in our prayers of need. And as a mother, I know there's several times that I've asked for patience, please, dear Lord, give me the patience that I need to get through this. And when you ask for a skill like that, you're going to be tested to see if you've gained that skill. So you're going to be tested for patience. So what I've concentrated on in my last, I would say 10 years specifically, were to really focus on learning to be more patient and understanding and forgiving of other people, because there's several people in my life that I've sincerely been hurt by, and to have understanding that they are children of God just like we are, and that they were broken and trying their very best, and that we need to have a greater understanding of the love that Heavenly Father has for them, so that we can be forgiving too.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. It's the filter, the lens of forgiveness and the lens of love. Yeah. I shared with my early morning scripture study kids about a story of a lady who gave a talk about forgiveness. And then in the audience was a prison guard from the Nazi Germany camp that she was in when her sister died, right? And then the guy came up and he says, well, since then, he's changed, became Christian, and he remembered her, and she remembered him, and she remembered that he was one of the most cruel person. And here she is talking about forgiveness, and she felt like stiff, like she couldn't reach her hand up. And finally she was able to do that. And she shook his hands, and she said she felt a flood of divine love rush through her, and just rushed through her hands and into the guy. And he wept, she wept, and she just felt like, of course, God can compensate all of that. He has the power. His grace is sufficient, of course, and she felt that great love. So for us, I think if we just keep reminding ourselves about great love and pure intention, if people misunderstand, that's fine. And it's inevitable if you're trying to rise. you know, as you rise higher and higher, the people down here are going to be like, what are they doing? And then they can misinterpret your intentions or whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, Jesus was misunderstood, right? So you need to answer only to God and keep rising and keep sharing and keep serving. Yeah, very good, ladies. How could you become more fluid and flexible in life? Yeah, because sometimes it's our resistance to the flexibility, the lessons of love that the Lord has given us that it creates our own problem, right? We have these social expectations, shoulda, coulda, you know, and then it's like not going our way, and then we get mad and angry. You know, how can we be more fluid and flexible? Mhm. Anybody want to have a go? Mhm. Yeah, that's the story, Debbie.
I'm just going to give somebody else a chance to talk. My husband is such a great example of this. He's so flexible in his life. He very, very often bends to the needs of others, and accommodates their needs before he thinks of his own. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were looking for, or what you meant by that, by the flexibility,
Yeah.
but it's just what it made me think of, is just
Mhm.
he has a very Christ-like outlook toward other people.
Yeah.
He cares very much for other people more than he cares for himself.
Mhm. So we should care about ourselves as much. You know, that's the second commandment, not more or less. But it's like the saying, water under the bridge, because guess what? Because we're over it. You know, that's water under the bridge because we're over it. So when things happen, we're like, water under the bridge. Let it pass. You know, let the atonement, let God's grace compensate.
But I think what I think of when becoming more fluid, so I've learned that I'm the fire element, and I've learned why I love water so much, and why like being on the beach or near the ocean always brings me such joy and such happiness, is because it calms my fire within.
Oh, I like your husband's water. Yeah.
Yes, he is water and I'm fire, so he calms me. Anyway, but like in reality, when I go to the beach and I'm near water, or in water, or on the water, on a kayak or anything, it is such a wonderful calming effect to my soul.
Mhm.
And I feel as if we need to let Heavenly Father's love, the word of Christ that comes through the scriptures, flow through us as if
Mhm.
like water flows through us.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if we allow that, then we will be more fluid throughout our entire lives.
Mhm. Very good. Be still, become. Love it. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, allowing other people to have their own opinions and ideas, like allowing them to have their own experiences,
Mhm.
like not feeling a need for everyone to agree with me or understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it,
Mhm.
because I'm anchored in God and He is my security.
Mhm.
Like, I don't have to have the approval of
Mhm.
everyone else around me.
Yeah. So don't need to seek their validation because you already got it from God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that allows me to just like let I tell my husband this sometimes, like, just let people be people. Like,
Mhm.
people are just, like Brene Brown says it, people are just people. And we can just let people be who they are, right?
Yeah.
And Yeah.
Very good.
Sometimes that's hard, but the more we can, I think the more fluid,
Mhm.
our life experience, and the more
Mhm.
flexible we are. So
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Cheryl. Thank you, Debbie.
The thing that came to my mind is the serenity prayer.
Mhm.
It's kind of been my motto for a long time, to do what I can, accept what I can't change, what I don't have control over, and then just have that wisdom to know the difference. I feel like that when I remind myself of that, I feel at peace. And for me, that's being flexible in life, because I'm flexible enough to recognize what is in alignment with God.
Mm-hmm.
Wish I was perfect at it, but it has helped me a lot.
I love that. And if you're feeling the peace and the calm, you're getting there. So it's good. Yeah. So, when people have UTIs, it's being pissed off, So, like ask yourself, am I being pissed off about something? Why, why am I not, flowing, peacefully and, nicely. Okay. So it goes back to our need for control, and then we fear, like Sierra mentioned, like if you make a mistake, you get punished or something. And it's like, maybe the parents are fearful that they look bad, that their daughter didn't, do right or whatever, so figure out that fear and then go, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what people think of me. Let my kid do this and learn the lesson or whatever. So you kind of have it's the feelings are very instructive. So, feel it and find out what it's about. Yeah. So last question, Melinda, go ahead.
Okay, so I missed part of it. I had somebody come and pick up the lawnmower while we were on the call. But I was thinking about the second question, how could you become more fluid and flexible in life? I thought about last summer, we got stranded in Seattle. The cruise ship would not allow us on, even though I did all the paperwork correctly to not have to do the vaccine and everything. We were stranded with literally nothing but the clothes on our back and what we had with us. They took our luggage. We didn't have it for a whole week. It was really awful. And in the moment, it felt really awful because 50 plus members of my husband's family went on to the cruise without us. And that was probably the hardest part than just not going on the cruise, that our whole family was there without us on this family reunion cruise without us. But aside from that, we still had all the things that mattered. We had each other, and we had a way to get around, and we figured out how to, get along in that moment. And it made me realize that I have very little control over a lot of things, and that even when you plan and prepare and think you did all the things right, you can still find yourself in those situations. And so the only thing you can control is the way you respond to them and your attitude towards it. And if President Roberts, his family had a similar experience, but in a foreign country, in Rome, in Italy. He talked about that. And he was quarantined away from his entire family for a whole week. And he had to pay all this money. It was insane, his story. And I thought, okay, my situation could have been worse. I had my husband, I had my daughter, and in his moment, he still thought of, okay, what can I do with my time? I can read the scriptures. I can, use this time to, meditate and talk with God and all of these things. And so even though we find ourselves often in those situations where we have very little control, there's still a lot that we can control. And so.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And you're saying respond, without being reactive, and, being in control of your perspective. Yeah. And really, you're absolutely right. I don't feel like we have a lot of control over a lot of situations. We pray and things work out sometimes, and we pray and sometimes things don't work out, but we figure it might be for our own good for some reason. Yeah. So that's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Last question. What does firing the critic and hiring the cheerleader, how does that change your life?
This one to me is super powerful. If you constantly have somebody in your life saying, you can't, you can't, you can't, then you adopt the feeling of, I can't, I'm not either smart enough or strong enough or good enough to accomplish, this. If you constantly have someone in your life criticizing everything you actually do, and you're like, and they're saying, it's not good enough, or you didn't try hard enough, or you could have done better, then you constantly feel like my efforts are never seen. I can't accomplish what I'm trying, no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I want this to happen, I can't do it. And if you have someone who, let's say you tried something, whether you're a child or an adult, either way, it doesn't matter. If you tried something and you didn't succeed, like let's say you failed that particular trial. But if you have someone beside you who says, I'm so glad you tried doing that. Maybe next time you can add this to it or do this and it'll work better. You should try again. If you just have that cheerleader, that encourager, that uplifter, the person to say, don't give up. You are good enough for this. You are strong enough. You are smart enough. You are everything you need to be to accomplish this. And I believe in you. If you have that, it makes all the difference in the world of what you can make yourself become.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And this is Coach Sierra, telling you, be a cheerleader, right? It's so important.
Absolutely. It brings to mind also, we talked a long time ago about the water and how when you speak kindness and love and positive words to the water and you freeze it, how beautiful the crystals become. And that if you speak ugly, harsh, nasty words to it, it's completely deformed, right? The same thing goes with plants. And our body is made of water. And so we also need to be our own cheerleader. We can't constantly depend on someone else to give us that encouragement.
Right.
Sometimes when we need it the most and we expect it the most from the person that's closest to us, like a spouse, we don't get it from them. And it is such a letdown. I've had that happen to me. I've had close, dear friends happen to them recently. We can't always depend on that other person. Sometimes we need to be that cheerleader for ourselves, or sometimes that's when we need to cling to our sisters who we know are supportive and loving and there for us when we need them to be.
Yeah, that's really good, Sierra. And I think I would say, let God be your cheerleader and you be the cheerleader. And, when we are that critic all the time, we dislike ourselves. Because anytime we're alone with ourselves, we criticize, as if, pointing out what's wrong and, saying mean things to yourself makes you happy, makes you better. You know what I mean? I tell people, what are we inputting? We're inputting negativity and we're expecting to withdraw positivity. How does that work? So input that, positive, and then you can withdraw positive. So I say, instead of push with fear, right, just be drawn and pulled by love. Go ahead, Melinda.
So I work at a school, and it is amazing to me how many kids tell me daily, constantly, this person said something to me that was so negative. Constantly. It's very rare that you hear, oh, so-and-so cheered me on. That's not the normal, or, the higher percentage of their comments that they're hearing. And so it's really easy to go down that path of negativity, much more than it is the positivity for a lot of the kids, because you have to go uphill a little bit with the positivity. You have to fight against the negativity while you're going up. you know, going down is real easy. And so there was some kids today, and they were, you know, kind of impressed with my time around the track. They're like, oh, Miss Grow did it in 1 minute and 50 seconds. You know, I want to beat Miss Grow. I want to be as good as Miss Grow. So I timed them, and we have a megaphone, and the kids, when they were running. I noticed when I picked up the megaphone and I said, go, so-and-so, you got this. And I was cheering them on. They ran faster and harder. And when I didn't say anything, it's like they were left to their own devices and like, oh my gosh, I'm tired, or oh my gosh, I can't do this. But when someone was cheering them on, like what a difference in their performance. It was amazing.
Yeah, so good. I love that. It's a great example. So we really need to change the culture, right? With Melinda saying, so many kids don't hear this, you know, happiness and joy. One time my daughter came home and she's like, Mom, I just feel so down. And I said, what's up? And she says, well, my teacher, she always talks down to the students and I just feel small. And I said to her, well, what can you do about it? You know, and she said, well, I don't know, maybe understand where she's coming from. I said, yeah. And maybe she's tired, maybe kids are naughty. And I said, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And so she's like, okay, I'll think of something. And so the next day she came home and she said, Mom, after we were done with the lesson, as I was walking out, I told her, thank you, you're a great teacher. And the teacher smiled. And she said, you know, I do that, you know, so my daughter does it often. And she says the next week she came to school on Monday and there was a donut on her desk, you know, and I'm like, did you eat it? And she's like, yes, maybe. I'm like, well, you're allowed to, it's okay. But it's just because she just was trying to add positivity to her teacher's life, because, you know, it seems like this lady's down and she's like, you know, pulling everyone down as well. And I'm like, well, we can complain about it or we can do something to help maybe. And then, you know, Sierra mentioned like, you know, wanting the spouse, wanting the people around you to you know, help boost your morale and stuff like that. And sometimes when they don't do it, you feel disappointed. Well, you know, we can actually control that situation where we can communicate clearly. You know, when I called Debbie, I'm like, hey, I need a sounding board, you know, or hey, I need a cheerleader, whatever. And she's like, got it. I know exactly what you need. And here I am being that person that you need. So instead of, you know, just blah, 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 sad, 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 sometimes people are like, I don't know what to do. Do I give advice? Do I this, you know, but we can really help people out by saying, I need a cheerleader now. And that's all, right? Just communicate clearly. We can't read each other's minds. So we can have that skill and say, here's what we need, right? And that's helpful, I feel, okay? So it's on us, take that responsibility. Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything before we end? All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to stop the recording now.